Hello students, this is Mrs. Levinson, and we are going to talk about the 7.00 naming ionic and covalent compounds today. So Unit 7, Lesson 7.00, all the way down here between 705 and 706. There are two parts. There's the Learn, which has your textbook, and there are two required parts to the textbook. It's the naming covalent compounds, and the second part is naming ionic compounds. And there's the worksheet, which is the assignments that's due today. Open your worksheet, and the first thing you'll probably have to do is click Enable Editing. Please read all the directions in that worksheet. This is really not difficult. What you really need to do is follow directions. I also recommend opening your periodic table so that you have that on hand. All right? So you just click it and open the periodic table. Let's see, I'll open the interactive online one. There it is. That's always fun. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at 7.00 worksheet. Let's look at the textbook. And in the textbook, we'll go ahead and work on the part 1, which is just doing a little bit with the periodic table in general. And it gives you a link for a periodic table. You can use that one, or you can use the one from your lesson. It really is all the same thing, okay? So using that periodic table, let's start filling in this part of the table on our worksheet. And the first element we need to look for is strontium, and we need the symbol, and we need to know if it's a metal or a non-metal. So we're going to look on this table, and if you can't see it real well, you can always blow it up bigger. All right, and we are looking for strontium, which is number 38 on the periodic table, and the symbol is SR. And because it is on the left side of the table, it is a metal. See, it even gives you the group name right there, alkaline earth metal. So we're just going to call it a metal. All right. So the symbol is SR, and we know that it is a metal. And we're going to do that all the way down. Let's go ahead and do Li, and that is this one right here. Number 3 is Li, and it is lithium. And so we'll write the name on here, lithium. And we are going to label if it's a metal or a non-metal. And lithium is over here on the left side of the table, and we can see that it is a metal. It even gives us the group name alkaline metals. And so we'll type metal over here. And if we do one on the other side, we can do bromine. That's on the other side of the table. And let's see. I'm going to have to zoom out here real quick. So you can see bromine is right here. Right, bromine, and it is, the symbol is Br, and it's over here on the right side of the table, and it tells you that on the right side of the table that these are non-metals, okay, non-metals. We know that from what we've learned already in units 4 and 5 anyway, so it is a non-metal, and the symbol is B lowercase r. The capitals and the lower cases make a difference. Make sure you understand the difference. For example, number 11 on your periodic table, that is a capital I. It is not a lowercase l. It is a capital I. So when you're looking for it, look for the capital I. All right. So on the next part, you should be able to do the rest of these yourself. Let's look at the next part, and that is the Lewis dot diagrams. And let's go ahead and do the Lewis dot diagram for lithium. And the first thing that we're going to do is put in the symbol, capital L, lowercase I. And we can see that lithium is in the first group, meaning it has 1 valence electron. And so we're going to put on that valence electron. And the way you do that in Word is you go into Insert, Shapes. We're going to pick a circle, and we're going to draw our circle. You can right-click on it, or you can come up here to fill. I'm going to go ahead and right-click on it, and see where it says Format Auto Shapes. I can pick the line color, and I think I'll just make it red. And I can pick the fill color, and I'll go ahead and make that just a darker. It doesn't matter. You can pick whatever colors you want. Click OK. There it is. And I can put it on Lithium, but notice it's too big right now. So I'm going to make it really small, and then I'm going to move it, and there it goes. Now, I don't know why it kind of went up like that, but I can hit the enter button. There we go. I just hit the enter button twice to bring it back down again, so it wasn't up in a weird place. If you don't like using the drawing tools in Word, you can go down to the Start menu in the bottom left corner of your page, and you can type the word paint and hit the enter key, and the paint program will open. You have a typing tool in Paint, and you can type LI, and you have drawing tools in Paint, and you can pick, I just picked a circle, you can pick the line color and the fill color, and you can draw a little circle right where you need it. You do have to click fill. See, it was right now it's set for no fill. We want solid color, and there it is. And once you do that, you can take a picture of it. You can do select, a little rectangle, and you can do copy, go back onto your worksheet, click in there, and right click and do paste, and it will go in there. See? So I have one that's in Word and one that's a picture from Paint. Either way, I don't care how you do it. If you want to draw it on notebook paper, that's fine. You can do that too. Just make sure you label them with the correct names so I can see them on the paper, how you're supposed to do it. But do your Lewis dot diagrams. Remember the way that we labeled the Lewis dot diagrams? One dot on each side all the way around. And if we have more, we can add another dot on each side until we run out. Okay. Now going down, we're actually doing our naming. We're going to do ionic compounds first, so we're going to go into our lesson, and we're going to do naming ionic compounds and go through the slides. It's very important to follow directions. It's not difficult, but you do have to follow directions. The 1, 2, 3 method. First, determine which element is a metal and which one is the non-metal. Name the metal first, name the non-metal second, replace the ending of the non-metal with IDE. Okay, so let's follow these directions. When we look at KBr, K is one element, Br is the other element. K, well, we got to figure out what K is. Go to the periodic table. K is right here on the periodic table in the first column. We know everything on the left side of the table is a metal. Everything on the left side of the table is a metal. On the right side is your non-metal. Metals on the left, non-metals on the right. This is definitely on the left, so it is our metal. And then we have Br. Br is on the right side. It is our non-metal. All right, so we know K is our metal, and we're going to name it. And the name for that letter K is actually potassium. It's right there, potassium. When I clicked on it, it came up at the top, right? There it is, potassium. So I'm going to name it potassium. And I'm going to put a space. And then I'm going to do the Br. Well, I go back to my periodic table. If you click on the box for Br, it'll blow it up real big so you can see it better. Notice it's on the right-hand side. It is your non-metal. And the directions, and it is bromine. The directions say, name the non-metal second, change the N to IDE. We know the second one is bromine, but we need to change that ending to IDE, right? So we don't want the NE, we want the DE, okay? So all we got to do is change that N to a D, and there is the IDE ending, potassium bromide. All right, I'm going to do this one because it looks really hard, but it's not, because you do exactly the same thing. We have to know which one is the metal and which one is the non-metal. So if you look at BA and AS, we don't care how many of each there are. We want the BA and the AS, right? So let's find them on a periodic table. The BA is right here. Barium. I clicked on the box and it blew it up real big for us. It is our metal. Notice, looking at ionic bonds, they always put the metal first and the non-metal second. Metal first, non-metal second. Metal first, sorry, C lowercase s, so CS, metal first, capital I, non-metal second. BE is the metal first, F is the non-metal second, and so on. And so if we do this one, number 16, that looks hard, but it's really not. BA is barium, and we know that is our metal because it's on the left side. Barium. And then the AS, we have to find it. AS should be our non-metal, and sure enough, here it is, right here in column 15. Column 15 is arsenic. All right, arsenic. And that is, we're going to put that on here. Arsenic, except that we want to change the ending to IDE, arsenide, right? Okay, so you should be able to do the rest of those yourself. Notice barium has 2 valence electrons. It's in group 2. It has 2 valence electrons. And arsenic, AS, has 5 valence electrons. And so to be able to make them work, we have the little numbers there. You have to have 3 barium atoms for every 2 arsenic atoms. All right, that's all that means. Okay, so now you should be able to do the naming. The naming is just that 1, 2, 3. This is the naming. All right, that's it. So now we're going to go back to the learn, and we're going to do naming for covalent compounds. Naming for covalent compounds. All right. This is a little more complicated, but it's still not too hard. You guys can do this. So the first thing we have to know is now we have to start using some prefixes and suffixes. The prefixes and suffixes tell us, the prefixes tell us how many. So like mono is 1, di is 2, tri is 3, tetra is 4, penta is 5, hexa is 6, 7 is hepta, and 8 is octa. So we have to use prefixes on our names, actually the first and second word. Now, basically what you do is you count up the atoms in the formula, like CO2. There's 1 carbon. I know there's not a 1 there. We just assume it's a 1. And there's 2 oxygens, right? So count them up. We know 1 is mono and 2 is di. So we have to use our prefixes to tell us how many carbons and how many oxygens, except you don't ever have to use mono on the first one, okay? We're not going to say monocarbon, right? All right, so now we also have to change the ending to IDE. If there's 1 for the first, you don't have to use mono. If there's 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, you do have to use the prefix. On the second one, you always use the prefix, even if it's mono, okay? So we're going to count the atoms by looking at the formula. There's 1 carbon, 2 oxygen. Then we're going to name the first one using our prefixes, except mono. It's the only one you don't use. Then we're going to name our second one, use a prefix to tell us how many, change the ending to "ide." So let's try a few. All those directions are on here. Let's look at SO3. S, if you look at it, these should all be nonmetals. S is sulfur. O is oxygen. Okay? So we're going to have sulfur and oxygen, except now we have to do the rules. We have to use our prefixes. On the first one, if there's only one, we do not have to use mono. On the second one, even if there's one, we always use a prefix. There's 3 here. Our prefix for 3 is tri. So we're going to do tri. And then we have to change the ending to "ide," right? Change the ending on the second one to IDE. So it's not trioxygen, it's trioxide. And so on oxygen, you got to change a lot of the word. You keep the OX and change the rest of it to IDE, oxide. Sulfur trioxide. Let's do this one. It's a P and an O. We have 2 P's and 5 O's. So let's find out what the P is. The P here is phosphorus. So we'll type that on here. Phosphorus. And then the O here is oxygen. And so we'll type oxygen. Now we got to follow our rules. We have to add a prefix for phosphorus because it's more than one. Remember, we don't have to use mono, but if it's more than one, we have to use it. So we need a di. So we know there's 2. Di-phosphorus. And then we can see there's 5 oxygens, so we have to use the penta. Penta. And then we change the ending of the oxygen to IDE. Just like it says here, change the ending to IDE. So we're going to change the YGEN to IDE, pentaoxide. All right. This one, CO, we have 1 carbon and 1 oxygen. So you would do carbon. I know C is carbon because I look at the periodic table. C is carbon. Right? See it right there? You can see it real big. There's carbon. O is oxygen. Okay, so I have a carbon and I have an oxygen. I have to follow my rules. The rules say use the prefixes unless it's mono. So on the first word, use your prefixes unless it's mono. Well, I only have 1 carbon. I know it's only 1 carbon because there's no number. So I don't have to put mono on carbon. On the second one, there's 1 oxygen. On the second word, you always use the number. So I know I have 1 oxygen, 1 is mono. So I'm going to do mono, except it already has an O. I'm not going to do OO. It's not mono oxygen. It's ox, right? Because the mono is right here, but it's part of the ox. And then change the ending, just like it says there, to IDE. So I'll change that to IDE, monoxide, carbon monoxide. So you should be able to do the rest of these and email if you have any questions. Thank you.